Hey everyone, how you doing? How has 2025 treated you? I can almost fathom that for most people, they'll say it's been a shit show. If it's been a wonderful year for you, then I'm very happy for you. I'm really happy for people who are truly happy. Because there have been times when I've been truly happy. But sometimes are harder than others. Seasons of life, right? So 2025 is coming to an end, and a lot of people take this time to reflect and think about what they've been through this year, what they've learned, what they want to continue with, what they never want to do again. 2025 has been one of the most defining years of my life. I'm going to try to say all this without crying. I started off this year vowing to myself to have the most peaceful year of my life. It ended up being the exact opposite of peaceful. My dad died this year on June 10th. And this Saturday, we're going to be having the 6-month commemoration service for my dad at the Serbian church here in my city. It's a tradition in our culture where we do a memorial for our loved ones on the 6-month anniversary of their death. So I just got back from my mom's house, and just being there brought up a lot of memories, and how I just wanted to see my dad, or was hoping to see him, in his old bedroom in my childhood home. When I walked down the hall, his room was right next to mine, my whole childhood. And he's not there, right? And what happened was, I don't think I properly grieved my father this year, because at the same time when he died in June 9th of this year, I was in the middle of a very toxic relationship. And it was about a 6-month relationship, but the intensity of it and the traumas that it brought up made this a pivotal year in my life. I have never seen myself more clearly than I have come to see myself this year. I have never come to see life and humanity and my purpose more clearly than I have this year. So I am actually taking everything that happened this year, putting a spin on it. I just almost did a spoonerism there. I was going to say positive pin. So I'm taking this year and putting a positive spin on everything that's happened to me. I believe people are allowed to talk about what happened in their lives. They're allowed to be upset about it. You're allowed to show emotion. There's nothing shameful about emotion. And I do. I have and am giving myself permission to feel emotions. And you should give yourself that permission too. Don't ever let anyone tell you that your emotions are too much, or your personality is too much, or your expressiveness is too much. It's not. Just be yourself. That's all. That's literally the best advice I can give you if you're ever going to learn to love yourself. Be yourself, and don't water yourself down. Don't change the essential, authentic parts of who you are. If you are going to change your maladaptive parts of who you are. And that's where my focus is right now. And that's where my focus is going to be heading into 2026. There is so much bursting inside of me that I have to say. And it's so every single day there's just thoughts swirling and swirling and swirling in my head. And as a writer, I constantly write down my thoughts, constantly writing them in my notes, on my phone, on my laptop. Getting all these thoughts together into one book is my biggest goal of 2026. I have been running for the last 5-6 years. I have been a writer since I was a child. I have adored writing. Hence why I named my channels Donna Runs and Writes. I named these channels Donna Runs and Writes in the last 2 years or 3 years, I think. I can't remember exactly. But the point is I named them that because I want to express all these thoughts in my head, because I know that I can write them in a way that will resonate with people. There have been times when I've said things and I've written things in certain groups and circles that people are just like, Donna, you said it in a way that I couldn't express myself. So it's my dream to write everything down that's ever happened to me in my life. Become a voice of hope for people who, as you've seen me talking about recently, who have become a victim or who have been a victim of narcissistic abuse and developed complex post-traumatic stress disorder as a result. So those are my two biggest focuses in terms of like mental health awareness, and I have used running as a way to cope and process my C-PTSD for the last 5 years. Now, the focus is going to be on getting it all out, writing it down, showing and teaching people what I've learned. Because it's been so incredibly lonely, and there have been so few resources that I've been able to find on the internet and in my city for mental health services with regard to complex post-traumatic stress disorder treatment. Our country in Canada, and I'm sure the United States as well and around the world, finding mental health services, the accessibility for all disorders is horrifying. But for C-PTSD, it's been a nightmare. I've read about what the services are. All of those services either require coverage or they're extremely expensive if you're self-employed and you don't have coverage. It can be quite pricey. And even just finding out where the services are, the amount of questions, and I'm a journalist and I'm an investigator, and I actually I push for answers. And I still, it was like pulling teeth talking to healthcare providers in the last year. Where do I find services for C-PTSD? Where can I get EMDR? Where can I get deep brain reorienting? I have felt so lost and so alone and so isolated. I don't want anyone to ever go through that again. So what I want to do is create a community here on TikTok where we can talk about C-PTSD, navigating treatment, what's helped you, and how basically our C-PTSD happened. The core of it, of our disorder developing, happens because of long-term prolonged abuse, and most of the time that abuse is at the hands of somebody with a disorder. A healthy person is not causing you C-PTSD. It's somebody in your life who is obviously extremely disordered and pathological. For me, it was my mother, and that's a whole other can of worms that we can talk about too. But I want to let go of the shame and the embarrassment of people saying, don't talk about your personal problems, don't air your dirty laundry in public. I think if people can be helped, you should be able to talk about your issues. I mean, it's social media these days, not everybody, but like it's getting more and more acceptable for us to, come out and be open about our struggles. And for some people, they have learned enough about their struggles that they can be a voice of hope for others or a voice of inspiration for others. So that's where I'm coming from when I spill my guts about this kind of stuff on social media. It's not for attention. It's not anything. Of course, there will always be naysayers and critics, saying, oh, she's a head case, or she's doing it for attention, or some other ridiculous, ignorant conclusion they come to. But that's fine. Go ahead. If you think that about me, then this page, this comment section, it's not for you then. So this is for people who have been seriously, deeply affected by narcissistic abuse and C-PTSD. So whether the narcissistic abuse came from a parent, a boss, a friend, a sibling, a romantic partner, it doesn't really matter. A lot of the times, narcissism is usually focused on domestic partnerships or romantic relationships. But I want to be more of a voice to be like, let's encompass all the different ways that narcissistic people are damaging society. And there's so much about narcissism awareness that the popular channels haven't addressed yet. There's some gaps there that I want to try to hopefully fill and talk about the outcome, the impact, the damage of narcissistic abuse. It's not just somebody who's getting over a tough breakup. It's somebody who, like, let's say they were in that relationship for like 15 or 20 years. That's going to affect them for years. They might get diagnosed with C-PTSD. They might not. I don't know. For me, I was diagnosed, like I said, in 2019. And it was due to prolonged lifetime abuse from 2 specific female narcissists. One of them, I will never be able to mention her name while she's still alive because I still fear her that much. And I will have to keep the details of that particular narcissistic abuse that I went through. I will have to keep that quiet because I fear her so much and what she might try to do to me. But my first abuser was my mother. And I've joined many different groups and spaces. Thankfully, online, I've found communities of women similar to me. We're called Daughters of Unloved Mothers, the shared sisterhood, daughters who are of abusive mothers, narcissistic mothers. It happens way more often than people are willing to admit. Sorry, I just have to keep on adjusting my phone because my shoulder's getting sore. So I'm really hoping that we can really, really peel back as many layers as possible on complex post-traumatic stress disorder, how it manifests, how to recover from it, and why it started in the first place. The connection is narcissistic abuse results in C-PTSD in innocent people who did not deserve any of that abuse. And a good number of people who were abused by narcissists end up copying those traits and becoming narcissists themselves in adulthood. And I have been terrified of becoming like my mother my whole life. I've tried so hard not to be like her. So I'm cognizant of that. I'm aware of that. I'm trying so hard to be self-aware. I'll talk about all that too. If you're interested in continuing this journey with me, listening to me ramble, and I'll be doing lives to talk about narcissistic abuse and C-PTSD, please continue following me. we can make the connection between narcissism and C-PTSD and try to just create a community where those of us who've been victims of narcissistic abuse can understand what happened to us and why we feel so alone, why we feel so isolated, to help you not feel so alone, not feel so isolated. Because accessing services is extremely difficult for a large number of us. I still feel extremely alone, even though I do have a counselor and group therapy. I'm also going to be creating a women's group in my city that focuses on narcissistic abuse recovery. So I'm finally ready to take the bull by the horns and tackle the ground, hit the ground running, tackling my healing, doing extremely, extremely deep dives and uncomfortable self-reflection. About what happened to me and how not to let it affect my peace and happiness for the second half of my life. I'm 46 years old. I can relive another 46 years, so I can relive my whole life over again if I stay healthy enough. We can double 46 and I can live another 46 years. And I want to make that one count. So I want to make this second half count. I want to, it's like I've been given a second chance at life, a do-over, because I have finally understood and come to the most clear understanding of what my entire life's struggle has been about. Why everything that ever happened to me, why all the pain I've ever felt, where it all came from, and how to finally start tackling it and never again repeating those relationships or patterns ever again. Never letting C-PTSD or narcissists or pathological people get in the way of my peace, happiness, self-fulfillment, self-esteem, self-worth, etc. ever again. That is my utter goal and vow to myself these last couple of months that I've come to, conclusion I've come to. And that is the new trajectory of my life now, is healing from C-PTSD and raising awareness about it and the cause of it, which is a narcissistic abuser who is causing this in so many of us. And we deserve to be happy, and we deserve healing. And as you can see from my channel, I do run a lot. And I have a 100-kilometer ultra marathon coming up in May next year, 2026. So that is also a huge part of my healing journey as well. Each time I run a longer distance, it feels like I've made another huge step in my recovery from C-PTSD. And it's not the finish line. It's not crossing the finish line. I don't feel like I made a huge step in my healing once I crossed that finish line. It's the whole process leading up to that day that I run that race. Finishing that race is really just, it's just like, I'm going to use a stupid, overused metaphor, icing on the cake. And the other stupid metaphor that we've all heard over and over again, it's the journey, not the destination. It really is, right? So from like now until May, the amount of thoughts that are going to be going and processing through my head when I'm out there training, for hours and hours at a time every single day, that's the healing. The healing is in each and every run, not when you cross the finish line. So I've talked for almost 20 minutes now. Thank you for listening so far if you did. This was just my introduction. I'll make everything shorter and clearer and more concise in upcoming videos that I share with you. But if you want to keep on following me, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening so far. Thank you so much, and have a great night. Bye-bye.